Hey there, it's Trish, and I wanted to go over the trades for Thursday, August 6th, and we use two setups with indicators on three charts for confirmation before we ever take a trade, and you can check those out at www.easyemintrade.com. So this is Thursday that we're looking at, and this is the open, right where this dotted line is, and you can see that we're in line to look for shorts. I don't start looking for anything until after 9:40, and at 9:44 we had a short squeeze firing off here, and we're in line because we're below our moving averages. Our indicator here is in line, and our trend indicator is in line. Everything's in line to take this short. So we took this at 9:44 at 1,175, and instead of our first target being +1, we made our first target plus 3/4. Reason being is that we had to close from the previous day right below us. So we made our first target a quarter above that in the event that we would bounce off of this area, because typically you will bounce off this area. It's not usual that you'll slice right through, but in this case you did. So you would have got your plus 3/4, then +2, and then you would have moved your stop to your entry and you would have gotten +1. So that one worked out nicely. The next squeeze that fired off was at 9:55, and again we're still in line over here to take a short, so we're good, and our MACD here is in line, so we can go ahead and take that. I liked it because we actually were it was firing off under this floor trader pivot, the pivot point, so that was perfect in my eyes to take an entry. So we took that at 9:55 and we went short at 9.98 and got +1, +2, and then +1. Depending on how you managed it and what your targets were, you could have gotten +3. It just depends on how you were trailing your stop. So that one worked out nicely as well. I will point out that we had divergence here. Price is moving lower while our indicator is moving higher, so that typically is going to give you a heads up that you're probably going to get a bounce. And then at 10:15 we had a squeeze firing off, and we got in at 993.75, being aware that realistically we're going to bounce at 992.75, 992.50 based on this floor trader pivot below us, and also did not realize right as we were getting in we had a tick extreme of I think almost -1,000. So we just took all of our profits at +3/4 without waiting around to see if we were going to break through this, just because we did have that tick extreme. So we were fine with that. I did want to remind everybody that you realistically will not have your squeeze firing off the exact same time as me. Everybody will be different based on the platform that they're using, but if they follow the setups accordingly to what they're seeing on their charts and with their indicators firing off, it'll work just fine. It doesn't have to be exactly where I am or where I'm entering or at the exact time. You'll find that sometimes yours will fire off sooner and sometimes they'll fire off a little later. As long as you're trading based on what you're seeing, you will be fine. I did want to point out that this was a trend line break in the morning, but everything's in line for a short. So I can tell you that anytime everything's in line for a short and I can get in on a squeeze, I'm going to do that anytime I can over a trend line break. So if we had a trend line break, for example, and I did not have a squeeze firing off, then I might be interested in taking it. This would have you would have entered half a point under this bar. You would not have gotten filled on the very next bar, so you would have canceled your order. So you would not have ever gotten filled on this trend line break regardless. And we've also been working on a setup that we can take at 50% retracement, basically with the direction change. This here would be our 50% retracement based on our cash market, this high to this low. This was 50%. So we've actually been paper trading that in the room this week. I'm actually going to finish back testing it, and then I'll share it with everybody. But we have been taking the entries on paper off the 200 tick chart, and it's actually been working out pretty well. So we'll talk more about that next week once I have some exact figures for you in the way of back testing. There really wasn't anything in the afternoon that I was willing to take. We did have this squeeze firing off at 144, but would not have been interested in that because if you see, excuse me, if you can see this right below us here, we've got our close right here, excuse me, our low from the previous day and our floor trader pivot. And typically I'm going to make sure I have enough room below me for price to move. So this squeeze here I wasn't interested in because if you can look over on my left-hand chart, you can see that right when it's firing off, we're pretty much at a strong support area. So I'm not interested in that until we can break through it. So we do break through it here, and we do get a squeeze firing off, but right below us we have the low from the previous day, which was Wednesday. And so if this had been firing off under that area, I might have been interested. But if it's firing off here, realistically, you have to make sure you have enough room below you, in my opinion. And that's just how I trade. You don't have to trade like that. You can just take it and just take your chances on if it's going to bounce or get through that area. But that's how I do it. I look to get through those areas and then look for my entry because I don't want it to get into an entry, then hit this and then bounce and then stop me out. So every single time I have something below me like that or even above me, I'm always going to wait to get through those areas and then look for the entry. So I hope that helps, and you can check those out at www.easyemintrade.com.